Bombshell new YouGov poll reveals that over 70% of voters believe that the Prime Minister is mismanaging the issue of migrant hotels.
The polling follows a High Court ruling which will force the Home Office to remove 138 migrants from the Bell Hotel in Epping. Other councils are now preparing similar legal action.
Well, the Home Secretary, Yvette Cooper, says Labour is cutting asylum costs and overhauling the appeals system.
But with Nigel Farage set to unveil plans for mass deportations this week, the Prime Minister faces growing pressure to prove that he has a grip on the migration crisis.
Well, joining us now in the studio is former Conservative Adviser Oscar Reddrop. Morning to you, Oscar.
Good morning.
And this is the Prime Minister under pressure.
Yeah, hugely. And I think this has been, it's one of the key issues for voters. I think if you can solve the illegal immigration problem we have in this country, and then all the offshooting pressures that come with it, which is, particularly as we've seen over the last couple of weeks, the asylum hotel issues and the protests around that, you will win the next general election. Like, whichever party, can absolutely convince, or, let's not forget, the Labour Party, they have the reins here. They have the power to fix this problem. You will win the next general election. So the motivation should be there, yet the answers are absolutely not. And I think there's a degree of burying their head in the sand, Keir Starmer, on this issue. I think that's reflected in this poll by just wanting to work within the existing structures. We'll give some more money to this crime agency to, smash the gangs, inverted commas, upstring. That's not working. We'll speed up the processes in terms of applications. That's not clearly working. And so that's why you're getting people within his own party, and that's the shift change that we've seen now in his own party telling him, you need to think more radically.
You see, the thing is that what people will also be seeing is that it's a reactive government. I know they've been in power for a year and they've got other issues to deal with as well. The fact that, there is no money, they're trying to raise taxes, they're trying to do all these other sort of things. And they've only... excuse me, and it feels like it's only now that they've got round to, in a major way, the immigration side. And meanwhile, it seems to be, it's always Nigel Farage who says something, and then all of a sudden they're kind of run around. Yeah,
and I think there are Labour politicians, voters, MPs that find that incredibly frustrating. Yeah. That they have a quite stiff Prime Minister, to your point, Penny, who is just always slightly behind the curve. And, like him or dislike him or whatever your feelings are about someone like Farage, he does have a slightly innate ability to not need polling, to not need to wait, 10 minutes after the fact and just kind of sense what the country's thinking and needing and wanting in that moment. And so Keir Starmer, naturally, is not the most proactive, charismatic, kind of fluid leader. He's always behind that curve.
You just want to, if you were advising him, would you have just said, look, let's just get ahead on something, even if it's not this, get ahead on something, because it seems to be that there's almost nothing there on the front foot about it.
I think to be fair, and, you have to be as objective as possible, I think to be fair, like, number 10... and people like Morgan McSweeney, his chief of staff in number 10, big player in number 10. I think they're not complete idiots. Like, they understand, there is a priority here that needs to be sorted, and I think they understand that. And they talk a lot about immigration. There's a lot of policies that we have about sorting this issue out in this country. So they get it, but it does sometimes come down to you do feel like the message might be right, smash the gangs. OK, that would be great. But, the messenger's the wrong person at the wrong time for this issue, I think, when I think of Keir Starmer.
And also, just never do slogans.
Yeah, never do they always come back to bite you a little bit.
It also simplifies the issue, doesn't it? Stop the boats or smash the gangs. Clearly it is not that simple, because if it was, it would have been handled by now.
Yeah, and there's a lot of people who work in politics who think kind of the free word slogan thing is, maybe there was a period of time where that did work.
Education. Tony Blair. Yes, it worked. Yes, but other things.
I think now people are wiser now, and I think if anything, it just enrages them when they see the real world and they see that it's not happening for them.
Yes, let's have longer sentences.
Well, meanwhile, we've got this growing resentment and criticism within even Labour ranks, haven't we? We've got Labour councils looking at the possibility of legal action over these migrant hotels. We've also got Lord Blunkett, the former Labour Home Secretary, saying the government needs to take more radical action, saying they're failing to get a grip on the issue of migration, even talking about leaving leaving the ECHR?
Yeah, so if I'm Keir Starmer, and this is a relatively quiet, hoping it would be anyway, kind of late August bank holiday, that intervention from someone like Blunkett, who is, a real Labour Party grandee, obviously, that is a hand on the shoulder. That is, I would be hugely concerned if I was Keir Starmer. That is people within my party now putting, not to overcook it, but in some ways putting me on notice, actually.
Yeah, and also that's the same plan as as Nigel Farage's business about withdrawing from the European Convention on Human Rights.
Using the internet without a VPN, a virtual private network, is a bit like taking to the road without car insurance. All it takes is one unlucky moment to cost you a lot of cash. This video's sponsor is Private Internet Access. They are the VPN to help keep you safe. Click the link in the description below to find out why over 30 million people have downloaded PIA to protect themselves online. A virtual private network is an app that hides your IP address and helps keep your data private. When you're browsing the internet at home, you give up a large amount of data to businesses, to shops, and indeed to social media giants too. Hackers have the ability to steal your personal data with ease, including sensitive information such as passwords, keystrokes, and even your personal photos. Private internet access helps protect your personal data by encrypting your internet connection to keep your data out of the hands of cyber criminals. And it's not just hackers either to be concerned about. Information can be censored too. When Canada passed their C18 bill, social media giants decided to ban news content on their platforms. But PIA can protect your ability to consume the news and content you love. Private internet access is available for Windows users, Mac OS, Android, Linux, iOS, and you can use one PIA subscription to protect an unlimited amount of devices. And we've got a huge GB News discount for you too. Click the link in this video's description and you'll get a massive 83% off PIA. That's under £2 a month, the price of a coffee, and you'll get an extra 4 months completely free on top. Also, there's a 30-day money-back guarantee too. Visit piavpn.com/GB News to start protecting yourself digitally today.
But let's talk about the other story, though, the story about the asylum issue, which is proving to be, the Conservatives didn't manage to deal with it. They were all about, they stopped the boats, and now we've got the, get the smugglers, and nothing seems. It seems on the face of it that nothing really concrete is being done properly to stop this.
It does feel like a bit of an intractable problem, and it's getting quite desperate for the Prime Minister. 71%, this is the new YouGov poll out today, of voters believe that Keir Starmer is handling this issue badly. To be honest, I'm quite surprised it's not higher than that, given what we hear day in, day out about the frustration. Yeah. And that includes 56% of people who voted Labour at the last election. And let's not forget, it feels like a lot has happened, but that election was only just over a year ago. This is so difficult for the Prime Minister. And what it comes down to, really, why both Labour and the Conservatives failed to do anything about this, is because of the legislation, the human rights legislation, the ECHR. And that ECHR legislation is then enshrined into UK law via the Human Rights Act. And that essentially makes it almost impossible for anyone to do anything about it once migrants get to these shores. That is why Keir Starmer talked about smashing the gangs, tackling the problem upstream over in France, because basically, once they get here, we know it is very, very difficult, despite all the political will in the world, to get them out again. That's what Rishi Sunak discovered when he tried to introduce this Rwanda policy. We had planes literally sitting off on the runway, and at the very last minute, people were taken off by people representing human rights lawyers. Their claims were then heard in the Court of Appeal, and lots of them managed to stay in the UK. That is why we're now hearing Nigel Farage saying that not only would he withdraw Britain permanently from the ECHR, but he would also rip up the UK Human Rights Act altogether and replace it with a British Bill of Rights. Then you've got Kemi Badenoch. She's been sitting on her hands, really, for
pretty much since she came into office. There are lots of Conservative MPs who were saying that the only way forward is to leave the ECHR. Kemi Badenoch now appears to be of that mind herself. We heard Richard Holden there saying there's a commission. They won't say it. I think they will say it when we get to the Conservative Party conference in October. Even David Blunkett is saying, really interesting interview with him in the Times today, saying that the only way is to temporarily leave the ECHR, and he accuses Keir Starmer of having very little coherent narrative on the issue. And I think that is the crux of it. Some of the individual measures Labour are taking, perhaps there's reform of the asylum appeal system,
appeal hearings, which
effectively
might even get in through this, slightly through the back door in the border security bill, which is nearing its later stages in the Lords. So it might actually, that might mean that the reforms could be on the statute book within weeks. So there's that.
There is that. Still not at all clear that it would actually get through, although Labour do have this enormous majority, almost the same size as Blair back in 1997. It has proved very difficult for them to get legislation that will be unpopular with left-wing Labour MPs through. So it could well be that this gets stalled in the House of Commons. But even if it doesn't, it does feel like a small chip away at a very large ice block.
Olivia, thanks.
Thank you, Olivia. Good to see you. Lots of you getting in touch. Henry says the answer to this is obvious. We need to leave the ECHR and house illegal migrants offshore in tents. We also need to deport. Kez talking about the issue of what the Conservatives are talking about today, which is banning loud music on public transport. Kez says, so let me get this straight. A guard on a train is really going to stop a rowdy group of young men to stop playing music, is he?
Well, you say young men. I mean, it's, you know, the point is it isn't just,
it's everybody,
just men, it's everybody. And as I said, I mean, the noise level